Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor P. Bhaskar Reddy, Department of Ancient Indian History, Culture and Archaeology, Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati. In the present module of the paper, Outlines of Indian History, we are going to learn about India under English East India Company. In the previous module, we have discussed the coming of Europeans, the rivalry between various European companies, and how English emerged as a monopoly over the trade and interfered in the internal matters of the existing Indian territories. In this module, you are going to learn about how the English East India Company created political power and obtained the provinces and became superior in the course of time. The learning objectives of the study are to understand the establishment of British East India Company power over different regions of India through war and diplomacy. In that, the components which we are going to discuss are the company and collapse of the Mughal power, the conquest of Bengal, the battles of Plassey, Buxar and their importance in the progress of the British East India Company, control of Upper Gangetic Plain, Anglo-Mysore Wars, Anglo-Maratha Wars, the Dalhousie policy, acquisition of territories, besides the condition of people in the society during the company rule. With these objectives, let us start our discussion on first the company and collapse of Mughal power in India and how it paved the way for the progress of English East India Company and how it became superior in Indian politics. Taking advantage of the political disorders in the country, the English company began coming out more openly to establish its position by territorial acquisitions. It became possible because, as Marx wrote, the paramount power of the great Mughal was broken by the Mughal viceroys. The power of the viceroys was broken by the Marathas. The power of the Marathas was broken by the Afghans, and while all were struggling against, all the Britain rushed in and was enabled to subdue them all. Taking advantage of this situation, the English started the acquisition of territories directly by waging a wars. The conquest of Bengal is an important war in the history of India, which it was a turning point in the history of British East India Company rule over India. Now we may proceed the conquest of Bengal by the British East India Company, how they conquered. The beginning of the British political sway over India started from the Battle of Plassey. The company had secured several valuable privileges in the year 1717 under royal firman by the Mughal emperor, who had granted the company the freedom to export and import their goods in Bengal without paying taxes and a right to use the passes. This firman was the perpetual source of their conflict in Bengal. In the year 1756, the Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Dowla, decided to force the English to pay the dues they used to pay before getting the privileged firman, and even he tried to control the English in Bengal. With these causes to superiority over the Bengal, the conflict was begun and it resulted the Battle of Plassey, which occurred between the Bengal ruler and East India Company. The conflict ultimately resulted the Battle of Plassey, where the Siraj-ud-Dowla was murdered. The Battle of Plassey paved the way for the British mastery over Bengal. It boosted British prestige and raised them to the status of a major contender for the Indian Empire. After the death of Siraj-ud-Dowla, the new Nawab, Mir Jafar, who was a puppet in the hands of the British, granted the company the right to trade in Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. Thus, the English East India Company secured the right to revenue forming over a large tract of land known as the 24 Parganas to the south of Calcutta also. The rich revenues of Bengal enabled British to organize a strong army. This was the beginning of their wars, and it resulted the superiority of the British, and also it paved the way for the further attempts of the British to conquer some more territories. The next important conquer is over the upper Gangetic plain, which it resulted the Battle of Buxar in the year 1764. The Battle of Buxar was fought on 22nd October 1764 between the forces under the command of the British East India Company led by Hector Munro and the combined armies of Mir Qasim, the Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Awadh, the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II. The three allies were defeated at Buxar and concluded the Treaty of Allahabad. This was one of the decisive battles in Indian history, for it demonstrated superiority of the English arms over the major Indian powers who combined together to fight against the English. The company after that obtained from the Mughal Emperor a charter making the Diwani rights to collect and manage the revenues. Thus the Battle of Plassey and Buxar secured a permanent foothold for the British Company in the rich provinces of Bengal, Bihar, Orissa and Awadh. Besides, as already we have discussed in the previous chapter, the Karnataka wars also occurred for the similar purpose. Though it is a rivalry between French and the English, the main purpose is to dominate in the southern coast. The Karnataka wars were fought between the English and the French on the Indian soil for the supremacy. The company in the 20 years war of Carnatic crushed the French power in India. By the end of the Third Carnatic War, the Nawab of Carnatic practically became a client of the English East India Company. After the end of the Carnatic War, there was a major change in the political scenario of the South. That is the rise of Hyder Ali, later Tipu Sultan. Hyder Ali, as a subordinate of the Mysore Samson, he started an independent state and started the occupation of territories in South. This conflict between the Hyder Ali and English, which fought in the coming years, is known as Anglo-Mysore Wars, which have much impact and interest in the history of India. Regarding the Anglo-Mysore Wars, which fought in between 1767 to 1799, the British East India Company, seeking an overland connection between its holdings at Madras, Bengal, and also sought to gain access to the Northern Circus, a series of coastal territories held by the French till 1758. The habit of interfering in the internal matters of the Indian states and the lust for territory and money soon involved a series of wars. The English now paid their attention to Mysore, where Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan were becoming a source of danger to the rising power of British in the South India. As a result, the Anglo-Mysore War began. Now we may proceed to discuss the details of each Anglo-Mysore War, why it was occurred, the course of the war and its results. Regarding the first Anglo-Mysore War, which occurred between Hyder Ali and English in between 1767 to 1769. At that time, Mysore was a powerful state under Hyder Ali. In the year 1766, with an intention to suppress Hyder Ali, the British joined the Nizam of Hyderabad in attacking Hyder. Thus, in the year with the combination of Hyderabad, Nizam, in the year 1769, the first Anglo-Mysore was fought. In that war, Hyder Ali successfully defeated the British, and finally the Treaty of Madras was signed. With that treaty, Hyder Ali occupied almost the whole of Karnataka. Thus, with the conclusion of the first Anglo-Mysore War, Hyder Ali showed his superiority and he became powerful in the south. But it was not an end. The Britishers once again tried to suppress the Hyder Ali. As a result, the second Anglo-Mysore War started in the year 1780 and it continued up to 1784. During this time, the company was led by a powerful and experienced General Warren Hastings. He acted with firm resolve and determination. In the second Anglo-Mysore War, Hyder was defeated at Porto Novo by Erkute. In that war, Hyder was died in the year 1782 and the war was ended with a peace treaty of Mangalore with his son Tippu in the year 1784. With the conclusion of Second Anglo-Mysore War, the Englishers won in the battle. It resulted in the death of Hyder Ali and the Englishers dominated over them. However, two more wars were occurred between English and Mysore because the Tippu who made an alliance with the French. The third war was began in 1789 and ended in Tippu's defeat in 1792. This was more fruitful from the British point of view. In this war, the Marathas and Nizam aided the British and Cornwallis successfully captured the Bangalore. The war also ended by the Treaty of Seringamapatnam. According to this treaty, Tippu ceded half of his territories, two of his sons as hostage of war, and rupees 330 lakhs as war indemnity. But Tippu, after the conclusion of the third war, he tried to once again to regain the power. As a result, one more war occurred between these two forces known as Fourth Anglo-Mysore War, which occurred in 1799. The British army during this period, headed by Lord Wellesley, he attacked and defeated Tipu Sultan once again in a fierce war. In this war, Tippu met a heroic death in 1799 while defending his capital Seringamapatnam. Thus, with the end of this war and the death of Tippu Sultan, the English restored the old Hindu family to Mysore and concluded subsidiary alliance with the ruler, making him as puppet of the British, just as a Nizam of Hyderabad and Nawab of Howth. After the conclusion of Anglo-Mysore Wars, the Englishes were superior in the south by controlling the Mysore state, Hyderabad, Howth. Meanwhile, in the Maharashtra, the Marathas, who rose to prominence in the beginnings of 17th century, now they posed a challenge for the superiority of the Englishes. It resulted the conflict between the Marathas and the Englishes to their superiority in the Indian politics. It resulted a long-drawn conflict of wars that occurred between Marathas and English, known as Anglo-Maratha Wars, which began in the year 1775 and ended in the year 1818. Regarding the causes of the war and how the Britishers involved in the Maratha affairs, they gained the chance in the name of interference. The English got an opportunity to intervene in the internal affairs of the Marathas in 1775. There were two claimants to the post of Peshwa at Maharashtra. The first Anglo-Maratha War was begun in the year 1775 with the British support for the Raghunath Rao's bid for the office of Peshwa. In this contest, the British faced the powerful combination of opposition from the Marathas, Mysore and Hyderabad alliance. In this, British suffered defeat at Vadagan in the initial stages in the year 1779, but they continued to fight the Marathas until the conclusion of Treaty of Salbai in the year 1782. With that treaty, the Britishers occupied Salsette, Tana Fort, Fort Versova, and others. Regarding the cause and course of the Second Anglo-Maratha War, the second war was caused by the Peshwa Bajirao's defeat by Holkar and his acceptance of British protection by the Treaty of Bassein in the year 1802. The other Maratha chiefs, Scindia and Bhonsla, were taken aback by this introduction of British power in their dominions. During that time, General Wellesley crushed the armies of Scindia and Bhonsla in the battles of Assaye and Agan in 1803. Both Scindia and Bhonsla became subsidiary allies of the company due to their defeat. Finally, the company made peace with Holkar in 1806. Thus, the Second Anglo-Maratha War had shattered the prestige of Maratha chiefs, but not their spirit. In this also, the Britishers came out successful. The Third Anglo-Maratha War is another phase of their course of battles, which began in 1817 and continued 1818. The two main causes that led to the third and final conflict between the British and the Marathas were: the first one is the growing desire of the Marathas to get back their lost territories. The second one is excessive control over Maratha nobles and chiefs by the Britishers. During this time, the Peshwa, who had concluded subsidiary alliances with the company, through all of disguise, and other Maratha chiefs joined with him. They made desperate last attempt to regain their independence from the British domination. The Governor General of the British at that time, Lord Hastings, struck back with the characteristic vigor. The Peshwa was beaten off in the battle at Khirki. Bhonsla's army was defeated at Sitalbaldi, and Holkar's army was crushed at Mehidipur. Thus, Peshwa's dominions were annexed in the year 1817. They formed into the province of Bombay. Thus, the Maratha provinces lost their independent status and it became a part of the Madras Presidency headed by the Britishers. Peshwa was retired on pension. Scindia, Holkar, Bhonsla and Gaikwad were allowed to rule under the imperial power of the company. The final war led to the complete domination of the English. It ended the Maratha Empire in India. With the conclusion of Anglo-Mysore Wars and Anglo-Maratha Wars, now the Britishers were able to dictate the terms and conditions. And also they were superior in Madras province, Bombay, Mysore, Oudh and others. With the success of this, the British company also tried to occupy the remaining Indian powers. The British completed the task of conquering the whole of India from 1818 to 1857, and in the beginnings of the 19th century, they started a continuous attempts to occupy Rajputana, Bihar, Northern provinces, Bengal, Orissa. In this moment, when the British East India Company completed the domination over the entire Indian provinces, at that time, Lord Dalhousie came to India as Governor General in the year 1848. You know that Dalhousie is a powerful Governor General and his policies are differ which followed by the company so far. Now, we may discuss about Dalhousie and his policies and how he conquered the remaining territories and how he got the territories under direct control of company. He was determined to extend direct British rule over large part of India. He declared that the extinction of all native states of India is just a question of time. The chief instrument which Dalhousie implemented the policy of annexation was the doctrine of lapse. Under this doctrine, when the ruler of a protected state died without a natural heir, his state was not to pass to an adopted heir as sanctioned by the age-old tradition of the country. By applying this doctrine, Punjab was annexed after the Anglo-Sikh Wars of 1848 and 52, the states of Satara in 1848, Nagapur and Jhansi in 1854 were annexed. The Raja of Tanjore, Nawabs of Karnataka, Bengal, Farakabad retired on pension under this policy. In 1853, Berar was taken away from the Nizam of Hyderabad. In 1856, Oudh was annexed and the Nawab was disappeared. By the time of Dalhousie, 150,000 square miles of territory were ruled over by princes were annexed. Thus, with the Dalhousie's policies and annexation of the territories and a direct extension of the rule, the company emerged as the undisputed ruler of India by the year 1857. So far, we have discussed about the company rule, the acquisition of the territories, the wars that occurred between the company and various Indian rulers, and how the English has suppressed them, their policies, and others. Besides that, we may also discuss in brief about the condition of the people during the company rule up to 1857 in brief manner. The British secured both political and economic power because of their annexation. They used this power for the plunder of India. The communities which were affected by the British rule included the artisan communities, the trading and commercial communities, the agricultural communities, the village communities, the tribal communities, and ruling communities, and several others. Regarding the artisan communities are concerned, the artisan community was ruined because they were forced to work in the company's factories. They were forced to accept advances and produce goods for the company alone and thereby get themselves transformed into the bonded or debt slaves of the company. After 1813, the manufacturers or machine factories of England were allowed under the free trade to flood the Indian markets. This led to the unequal competition between the machine factories of England and the handicrafts of India, and a consequent destruction of native industry as well as of the age-old union between agriculture and manufacturing industry, which was promoting interdependence or balanced development of industry and agriculture. This was one of the important aspects regarding the artisan communities. Regarding the trading and commercial communities and their place during this period, is the company maintained monopoly in trading during this period. The Indian merchant communities had to buy goods only from the company, and that too at a higher price, resulting in lower profits. The heavy taxation in England resulted in destruction of the native trading communities. The discriminatory policies in tariff and the custom duties, tax on sale, and later in goods transport rates in railways also ruined the native trading communities. This kind of ruinization of trading communities in turn delayed the emergence and independent native merchant bourgeois or middle class and growth of capitalist economy for a long period. Regarding the agriculture and agricultural communities are concerned, the company rule brought so many changes in the revenue administration and agricultural policies. Their main intention is to get much revenue from the agricultural sector. Thus, the agrarian reforms began to be introduced in different parts of the country. The major agrarian reforms of the land revenue included the Jamindari system of land revenues introduced in the Bengal Presidency, northern portion of Madras Presidency, and Benares. The other is the Rautwari system introduced in Baramahal, ceded districts, Jamindari territories of Madras Presidency, Bombay Presidency, Coorg, Assam, and eastern Punjab. The other system is Mahalwari system, which was introduced in northern India. All these revenue systems which had re-established and strengthened existing landlordism on a new basis aimed at transformation of the company into a supreme landlord in India, securing of regular and increased income to the company. Transformation of India into a purely agriculture country, a raw material supply in the country to the British industry in England, and a marketplace for British trade. The creation of a class of royal supporters to the British rule, reducing of competition from native moneyed class to the company, reclamation of more forest land for extension of cultivation, arresting the growth of modern industry in India so as to increase import of the British manufacturers into India for higher purpose, destruction of existing native industries and diversion of artisans to culture. Finally, introduction of capitalist land tenure systems. With this discussion, I hope you may understood the company, how it acquired the territories, their policies, the wars, and also the conditions prevailed in India during the company rule regarding the artisans, industry, trade, agriculture. Now, the summary of this lesson is the British East India Company's success in establishing its authority over India through war and diplomacy turned India into a colony, serving the interests of the mother country, England. The net result was exploitation and oppression of different sections of people in Indian society. For more details and better understanding, go through the e-text and other components of the model. Thank you.